Phony, and totally weird. Gavin's hands. It's time for Gavin's hands.
The notion of agency, that we're not bystanders in the world. It's decisions, not conditions, that determine our fate and future. And that fundamental notion of agency, I think, is important more broadly. And I think that goes to some of the issues around, victimization. And I see a lot of that, respectively, on the right, increasingly, even with Trump often approaching things from that sort of mind.
Gavin Newsom struts in like California's James Bond, minus the gadgets, plus a gallon of hair gel, thinking he's untouchable. But then Tyrus, built like a linebacker and packing the force of a truth bomb, calls him out. When Tyrus speaks, even the Wi-Fi seems to stop. This isn't just a takedown, it's a roast so sharp Newsom might need stitches. Stick around because this showdown is about to get messy.
Tyrus?
What I saw,
Yeah.
what it looked to me like he was negotiating with a deaf prostitute.
With a myriad of issues. I was just talking to Josh Green, the governor down in Hawaii, who had some ideas around some land use concerns he has around speculators coming in, buying up properties and the like. So we're already working with our legal teams to move those things forward, and we'll be presenting those in a matter of days, not just weeks.
California is painted as the postcard of America. Sunshine, beaches, palm trees, and endless promise. The Hollywood fantasy where mornings start on a surfboard and nights end under rooftop lights with kale smoothies in hand. But peel back the glossy cover and the so-called Golden State looks less like a dream and more like a Netflix documentary spiraling out of control.
Go back and watch the tape.
Yes!
He literally goes, I want some of this, then you do some of this, and I'll do some of that back to you, and then we'll do this, and then I'll pay you, and then we'll do it again.
True.
And then she kept saying, no. Okay, how about this? You do this one first, then we do this one, then we give a little back and forth.
If you are enjoying this takedown, please hit that subscribe button. The streets resemble a deleted scene from Mad Max. Taxes hit like a penalty for simply existing. Ordinary people are fleeing the state like it's an Olympic race. And at the center of it all, posing as if he just stepped off a GQ magazine cover, is Gavin Newsom, with hair straight out of a shampoo commercial and the swagger of someone who's never touched a gas pump. He stands untouched while chaos swirls around him.
Tyrus, did he leave out anything? I think there's about 100 other reasons too.
Well, it's not his words when he speaks.
Yeah.
You have to watch him closely. And some genius decided not to film him any lower than the shoulder.
Yes, did you? Yes.
So what did he do?
You couldn't see the hands.
No, but he sent Morse code.
He delivers speeches like he's auditioning for the role of president in a Hollywood blockbuster, complete with dramatic pauses, sweeping hand gestures, and that smug grin that says, "Trust me, I know best." But here's the catch. While Newsom plays California's leading man, the state has turned into the blooper reel. Homelessness is skyrocketing. Businesses are fleeing like it's a full-scale evacuation, and everyday people are left asking why they're paying Beverly Hills prices to live in what feels like a Gotham City remake.
I'll be in the car.
Yes, I think you've done enough this evening. You can take the rest of the week off.
Thank you.
Charlie, I don't
We've
know
all
if you-
been there, right?
Yes, we have. Yeah, it's noisy in this
Sorry,
city.
every time I look, I just see him going. I'm sorry.
You know, another option it could be, because he's doing the whole rebrand with the podcast and he's trying to...
Enter Tyrus, and this is where things get good. He's not the type to sugarcoat or rehearse lines in front of a mirror. He's the guy who calls it exactly as he sees it, with the blunt force of a heavyweight who's long past worrying about anyone's feelings. Where Newsom brings polish, Tyrus brings grit. Where Newsom brings hair gel, Tyrus drops reality checks. Picture it, Gavin Newsom strutting into the spotlight, chest out, hair gleaming like it has its own lighting crew, bragging about California's thriving future and golden progress. Meanwhile, San Francisco and Los Angeles, once the crown jewels of the West, now resemble open-air experiments in human misery. Tyrus doesn't waste time dressing it up. He cuts straight through. How can America's supposed utopia look like a live-action zombie apocalypse? Newsom promised paradise, but what he delivered feels more like the set of The Walking Dead.
Or
Yeah.
he's negotiating with a deaf prostitute.
Yeah.
Let's just stick with that.
Yeah.
More likely.
Yeah.
Maybe you can fix California while you stop by. 2 shows, you should be able to do that.
Hey, you know what? Real funny. So the other night, I got like 3 weeks ago, time flies when you work.
I get a text at 2 o'clock in the morning from the president who says, "Hey, bro, I just filled California up with water. Governor's pissed," and sent pictures, LOL post. Who doesn't love this president?
Now let's talk business, because California was once the crown jewel of innovation. Silicon Valley, Hollywood, Napa Valley. This was the land of dreams. But under Newsom's reign, companies are bailing faster than contestants on a dating show who discover the bachelor still lives with his mom. Headquarters are packing up, jobs are disappearing, and they're heading for Texas, Florida, even Nevada. Apparently paying less to work in the desert sounds better than being crushed by California taxes. And who calls it out? Tyrus. He looks at the mass exodus and asks the obvious. If people are fleeing paradise, maybe it's not paradise anymore. Remember when Newsom demanded everyone stay home, mask up, shut down businesses, and sacrifice for the greater good? Ordinary Californians were rationing toilet paper, cutting their own hair, and attending funerals over Zoom. Meanwhile, Newsom was whining and dining at a luxury restaurant with lobbyists, sipping under golden chandeliers like he was starring in The Great Gatsby.
Back and watch it. Look at the blinking. Blink, look. Meet me at the house. Like, he's blinking. He's sending. I'm getting there. Hey, just so you know, I'm not wearing pants.
Ew.
And then, look, he's blinking. And then eventually, the camera guy realizing that he's signaling him, so he gets appalled, leans back, camera comes down, and then we're back to this. I'll do this for you. You do this for me a little. So he's saying whatever he's going to say. There it is. See? They couldn't hold him back. He's like, I'm not on film. Oh, I'm not. Nope.
That moment became the perfect symbol of his leadership. Rules for the people, perks for the king. And Tyrus doesn't just point it out, he mocks it. He paints the scene so vividly you can almost hear the silverware clinking. While ordinary folks are stuck reheating frozen pizza in sweatpants, Newsom is twirling fine wine and smiling through speeches about how we're all in this together. The hypocrisy speaks for itself, but Tyrus still layers on the sarcasm, because sometimes the truth is too absurd to leave plain. And here's the kicker. Tyrus isn't a polished politician armed with scripted talking points. He's not chasing applause from think tanks or worried about keeping donors happy. He doesn't care if feathers get ruffled or if Newsom's glossy image takes a beating. He just says it. Homelessness is exploding, crime is rising, gas prices are punishing. California feels less like a privilege and more like a sentence. And people listen, not because he's spitting out statistics like a debate robot, but because he's cutting through the noise. He's saying what Californians live every single day. It's not theory, it's not spin, it's reality, spoken with humor and laced with contempt.
Well, speaking of full of isn't it? I'm sorry, I'm confused. He's still governor, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So he could do something about it. That's the most irritating thing, is like, why did anyone say with a follow-up where he's like, the homeless situation is ridiculous? Follow-up question, aren't you governor?
Yeah.
Like, that's the difference. That's the difference between the radical left and President Trump. He'll talk about something as it's being.
The fallout, absolutely delicious. On one side, everyday people nodding along, finally hearing someone say what they've been thinking for years. On the other, critics scrambling, spinning excuses, defending Newsom, or dismissing Tyrus as just an entertainer who doesn't get politics. But here's the problem. When the guy famous for body slams makes more sense than the man running America's biggest state, maybe it's time to admit the emperor has no clothes, or at least no working policies. And that's the beauty of it. Tyrus doesn't need to be a policy expert or churn out a 200-page report. He just points at the wreckage and says what everyone else already knows. This isn't working. The irony with Newsom is that he keeps selling California as the shining model for the rest of the country, a beacon of progress, innovation, and opportunity. But take one step off Rodeo Drive and the illusion shatters. The runway is cracked, the lights are dead, and the so-called future looks like it was built on duct tape and wishful thinking.
He's playing with us. Meet me at my house. You get mine. I get yours. It'll work out.
Paul, are they capable of soul searching? It feels like the party itself has no soul.
Yeah, I know, they have no soul. You know, it's a really interesting statement if you just kind of, you can break it in two. He spends the whole first part of that saying, we lost because this. Essentially what he says is, Folks, we were on the wrong side of every issue last.
Tyrus has a way of slicing straight through the glossy sales pitch. He's not fooled by the drone shots of golden beaches and glittering skylines. Instead, he points to the part they never show: the encampments under every overpass, the boarded up shops crushed by regulations, and the families debating whether to pay rent or just pitch a tent in the park and call it camping with benefits. And here's the kicker: if dysfunction were a sport, California would be playing in the championship. Then comes the hypocrisy factor, the crown jewel of Newsom's career. It's one thing to preside over chaos and at least admit the cracks, but it's another to act untouchable, sneaking off to luxury dining while your citizens can't even grab a simple cup of coffee without restrictions.
He's going to go up and say, listen, I'm going to sign an executive order to stop homelessness, and here's how we're going to do it. Bam, 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 done. The border, done. 5 days later, 99%, no one's crossed. They're standing at the border like, you go. No, that you go. Like, no one wants to go.
That infamous dinner, where Newsom was spotted rubbing elbows with lobbyists in a Michelin-starred restaurant, wasn't just a scandal. It was a masterclass in tone-deaf arrogance. While Californians were told to cancel weddings, funerals, even Thanksgiving dinners, he was twirling truffle pasta like the rules didn't apply to him, and Tyrus never lets that moment fade. He brings it up like a prosecutor presenting Exhibit A, the ultimate case of rules for thee, not for me. He knows people don't forget being fined for restrictions their own governor ignored, and he knows hypocrisy doesn't just spark frustration, it fuels rage. But Tyrus doesn't just expose it, he ridicules it. He paints the picture so clearly you can almost see the dim lighting, the overpriced menu, the laughter bouncing off the walls, while the rest of California sat at home learning sourdough tutorials. No need to invent a scandal, it's already laughable on its own.
Gavin, I know him very well. He's incompetent. He's a nice guy, looks good. Hi, everybody, how you doing? He's got some strange hand action going. I don't know what the hell his problem is. It's a little weird, to be honest. There's a little something shaky going on there.
I came into that recall campaign still arguing that all politics is local. I still had a romantic notion of that. I intellectualized that a lot of our politics and the discourse was national. I didn't fully appreciate how nationalized our politics have become. In so many ways, that shape-shifted a lot of what we're doing and who I am today. But this last year, these last 6-7 months, this is something altogether different.
And that's the beauty of Tyrus's approach. He's not just ranting, he's making people laugh while they nod in agreement. Because when reality gets this absurd, sometimes the only way to face it is by laughing at the madness. But underneath the humor, Tyrus digs deeper. He shows California's problems aren't abstract statistics. They're everyday struggles for millions. Rising crime means parents terrified when their kids walk home. Sky-high gas prices mean families scrapping road trips because filling the tank feels like paying off a mortgage. Homeless encampments mean neighborhoods no longer feel safe in their own backyards. That's the sting, because deep down, people know leadership isn't about polished speeches. It's about results. And California's results are screaming louder than any press conference. You can polish the image, but you can't hide the cracks when the foundation is collapsing. Tyrus knows how to shine a spotlight on those cracks. He doesn't need conspiracies or academic jargon. He just points to the obvious and says it in a way no one can ignore.
Yeah, his hands are just weird, though, Tyrus. They're always doing funky things.
Yeah, I thought it had something to do with the California budget cuts and stuff, since they didn't have a hearing impaired transitioner anymore. I'm not paying money for that. I'll do it myself.
He'll remind you that California has breathtaking beauty and endless resources, yet somehow can't keep the power on during a heat wave. He'll point out that the state brags about being the 5th largest economy, but can't stop families from fleeing to Arizona just to buy cheaper groceries. That blunt, grounded style makes his words stick because he's not speaking from a podium. He's speaking like the guy you'd run into at a gas station, shaking his head at outrageous prices while muttering about the governor's latest photo op. And that's what makes the fallout so striking. Californians living through the chaos hear Tyrus and feel vindicated. Finally, someone is saying what they've been thinking all along, and Tyrus doesn't just stand back and watch the fire. He points at it, laughs, and says the truth out loud. Maybe it's time to stop pretending California is the model for America. Maybe it's time to admit the glossy postcard doesn't match the reality on the ground. And maybe it's time for leaders who spend less energy posing for cameras and more actually solving problems.
So,
A little bit of bubble.
Yeah. Nice.
Could you imagine if you were the sign person for the TV going,
No, he reminds me there of, remember the guy who did the sign language at Mandela's funeral?
Oh, that's why Tyrus's call-out isn't just entertaining, it's effective. It's not a policy paper or a campaign speech. It's a reality check, a blunt, sarcastic reminder that no matter how much you spin the narrative, people can see with their own eyes what's happening, and no amount of charm, hair gel, or photo ops can cover it up. California may still boast sunshine, beaches, and movie stars, but thanks to Tyrus, the cracks in the illusion are impossible to miss. And once you see them, you can't unsee them. The Golden State has always sold itself as the dream, but under Newsom, that dream feels more like a badly written sitcom. The sunshine's still there, but so are the crushing taxes. The beaches are beautiful, but you'll pass tent cities just to get to them. Tyrus reminds people that leadership isn't about photo ops. It's about accountability, and California has been coasting on vibes for far too long. The most damning part? People aren't even shocked anymore. The scandals, the double standards, the disconnect, they've become routine.
I was in the White House, this is one of the first things I would do. Clean up your streets. Instead of sending our military men and women out to other places to make other countries safe, make our streets safe. How is this an argument? If you don't like it, what's not to like? Other than that you have to tip your hat to the orange devil. That's the problem. Then you know what? Find a way, like, make it your own. Like, no, you will not bring in 1,500 National Guards. We will only allow 1,200. And then call it a victory. Clean up your neighborhoods. Leave the politicians out to go out on the waterfront at 6 o'clock in the morning. But notice he wasn't filming himself.
But when Tyrus unloads, it forces everyone to stop pretending the Emperor's robe is real. The comedy makes it easy to swallow, but the truth behind the punchlines leaves a sting. And here's where the real curiosity begins. If Tyrus can dismantle Newsom's polished image with a few blunt hits, what happens when others start doing the same? What happens when the Hollywood gloss fades completely, leaving only broken promises, empty storefronts, and leaders more invested in their brand than their people? California may still sparkle in Instagram filters, but Tyrus ripped away the Valencia effect. Now the raw, unedited version is on display.
Well, speaking of full of I'm sorry, I'm confused. He's still governor, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So he could do something about it. That's the most irritating thing, is like, why did anyone say with a follow-up where he's like, the homeless situation is ridiculous? Follow-up question, aren't you governor?
Yeah.
Like, that's the difference. That's the difference between the radical left and President Trump. He'll talk about something as it's being.
And it's a lot harder to ignore, because once the illusion is gone, you can't put it back together with speeches or photo ops. Californians aren't buying the glossy ads anymore. They're living the reality every single day, and Tyrus, with his no-filter delivery, just says out loud what everyone else has been whispering under their breath. That's why his words stick. They cut deeper than polished debates or flashy campaigns, because they come wrapped in sarcasm, humor, and the kind of blunt honesty people actually trust. And here's the bigger picture. If one voice of ridicule can shake the carefully built image of California's golden dream, imagine what happens when more voices join in. The cracks don't just show, they spread. And suddenly, the state that was once the model is now the warning sign. Tyrus didn't create the problems. He just pulled back the curtain. And once that curtain falls, the stage looks a whole lot different.